Hey guys, today's episode is brought to you by you. That's right, the listeners, patreon.com/defense of the patients. You guys are the only income we currently make. You guys are the ones who make it possible for us to pay show hosts, cover web hosting fees, pay for our RSS feed. You have made DotP possible for a long time, and that is because of your kind and generous support at patreon.com/defense of the patients. Big shout out to all of you. Sorry if you're hearing some noise and stuff in the background. I'm currently setting up because of a donation that was made from a listener just like you that is forcing me to play Magic the Gathering on stream with Roland here shortly. And as part of that effort, Roland tore down the mics and used the mic stands as camera stands, which has left me holding the microphone like a fool, like some third-rate operation. But regardless, I bring to you I offer you this one-on-one with none other than Black. Black was, we met him once at TI 5 or 6. He was ultra nice. He was a really great guy. And this interview is just everything you'd expect. He's charming. He was open and willing to talk about anything and everything. And I really appreciated it. He had some pretty valuable insight into just kind of Dota's evolution into professionalism, esports, how players behave, just a ton of really cool insight from somebody who's definitely been all over in the Dota community. You can find him at BlackDota2 on Twitter or twitch.tv/BlackDotaTV. So, without further ado, here's the show. You are listening to a DotP One-on-One. Pyrian Flax, welcome to the show, sir.
Hello.
That is Casey Atchison. Welcome to the show, Casey.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Welcome, Sunfan.
Hello, friends. It's been a long time.
Mott, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me once again. Very excited to be here.
Austin, Capitalist Walsh. Welcome to the show, Cap.
Thank you very much, man. It's good to be back.
Special guest, Sir Action Slacks. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another DotP One-on-One. As usual, I'm Cyphus, and today I'm very excited. Our guest today is a pro player. He's an analyst, a man with a great history in the game of Dota 2, and that is Dominik Reitmeier. You guys know him as Black. Did I say your last name right, Black?
Yeah, that was actually one of the better pronunciations that I've heard.
Well, all right. My German is it's going places. Then is what you're saying.
Oh yeah, but you have a long way to go. German is pretty difficult.
Yeah. So I guess one of the first things I'll delve into is you are from Germany, right? Born and raised.
Yeah.
But your career has taken you to at least 3 regions, right? I mean, I guess NA is maybe the only region you've never really participated in, right?
Well, I wasn't in Canada for 6 months. If that counts as an A.
Okay, yeah, that counts as NA.
Okay,
so you
good. Got that covered too.
You're basically everywhere then. Do you like that experience? Do you feel like that experience playing in all of those different regions has helped you as a player, or maybe even as a person?
I think it's like a very, very valuable experience. Of course, as a player, seeing all these different play styles and different strategies that come from different regions is very, very valuable to have. But as a person, it makes you like so independent. You go everywhere. You're basically in a stranger country, right? You don't know anyone, and nobody knows you.
Yeah.
And then it's like you have to try really hard to get around and not die, I guess. So that helped me a lot in that regard. And of course, you have a lot of very memorable experiences, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Does it make you feel kind of lonely at times? I can imagine, especially with with language barriers and just being in a foreign location, and the only kind of common connection with anybody in your immediate vicinity is obviously Dota. I can imagine that would feel like you're really on your own.
Yeah, especially during my 2 years in China, because I didn't really leave Germany before that, right? And then I went to China for 2 years, and most people there can't even speak the basic English, so you're kind of screwed. unless you know to speak Chinese, which I eventually learned. But the first 6 months there, they were very, very hard because I couldn't even like get food, alone.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they couldn't understand me, I couldn't understand them, so it was very awkward. And of course, you don't really get to see your friends or family back at home because you don't really get the chance to go. So
Yeah.
it definitely becomes lonely at times. But then you just kind of have to remind yourself why you're doing it, and then usually it gets a bit better after that.
Yeah. So let's start back at the very beginning for you. So where in Germany did you grow up?
Near Frankfurt, like around 40 kilometers from there. So the place is called Marburg or Marburg. I don't know how to say it in English.
Close enough. Good enough for us.
Right.
Does that feel, you've been everywhere. Does that feel like home in your mind? Is that still where you would think of as home?
Okay, so the past 4 years I've barely been in Germany, so I can't really call it my like quote unquote home anymore. So I don't really know. They say home is where you think, like where you feel at home, right?
Right.
So there would be nowhere right now.
Does that bother you, or are you kind of enjoying it?
Well, I try to go where I think I have the best chance to improve as a person as well as a player. So it doesn't really bother me just yet that I don't really have a home. But I guess like the older you grow, the more it will start bothering you. But
Yeah.
I haven't reached that stage yet.
Do you? Is there a part of you that would like to settle down and kind of remain in one location and kind of develop a home? Is this a good journey for you?
It's definitely a good journey, and it's like very memorable. But of course, a lot of times I'm thinking about where to settle down because I've been in a lot of places, right? So there's a lot of places I would like to eventually settle down in when I get older, and I think about where, when, why, that kind of stuff. And of course, like thinking about it sometimes makes you a bit like sad, because you don't really have anywhere to go. But I think for now it's fine because I think I'm still learning a lot, especially like as a person, I'm still developing a lot.
So, did you go to university while you were in Germany, or did you attend anything beyond like basic education?
Yeah, I did. I actually finished my degree in electrical engineering before I went to China.
Oh wow. So is that still something that interests you? Do you kind of keep up with what's going on in that field?
Well, basically back then I had to promise my parents I would finish before I go to China, right? So that was kind of our deal. So they wouldn't let me go unless I finish. So that was like the main reason why I finished it. And of course, to have like a backup plan in case this all doesn't work. Because
Right.
back then, like of course now it's way bigger than it was back then, but back then it was much more of a risk than it is now to work in that field. So yeah, it was just like a personal security kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. So at what point in your life did you get into gaming? What were some of the first like video games that you got into?
Or like super early. I think the first game I played was Age of Empires 2.
Okay.
Introduced to me by my dad because he was like a big strategy game fan. And then after it was like the Nintendo, the Genesis, all these consoles came up. Yeah, so basically I got introduced to gaming when I was like what, 5, 6, something like that.
Wow. Was like strategy gaming, was that kind of your cup of tea as well, like it was for your dad, or were you drawn to other types of games, other varieties?
I think I'm a bit weird when it comes to games. So I'm a big strategy game fan, but most games with strategies actually like I really liked StarCraft and Warcraft, but then they're like what's another strategy game that's really popular?
Like Civilization, maybe.
Yeah, something like that. Like that, I didn't like at all. So I'm more like the action kind of thing where you actually have to actively micro and.
Okay.
Yeah, like I don't know. I guess I just find it boring if you have to think too much and can't just beat them up.
Yeah, I can understand. So where in your gaming career did Dota come into the picture?
Yeah, that was actually during my journey through Warcraft 3, because I was playing this like solo ladder and the arranged team matchmaking that you have in the game, and then my friend was like, "Hey, you want to relax a while? Let's go play this fun map." And then he introduced me to Dota, and I still remember my first game. I was Lich, and I threw an ult and got a triple kill. I was super hyped, and then I like really started liking Dota. I didn't even know what I did, right? I just like threw that thing, and it suddenly started killing everything. I was like, "Oh, what a cool game! Let's play some more." And then basically from there, it played it more and more.
Where did you I know some folks who got into Dota 1 moved over to Han initially, and like Dota All Stars. Did you follow the game through that path, or did you kind of wait until Dota 2 and get into Dota 2 proper?
All right, so at the end of Dota 1, I also switched to Han because it basically was just a more refined version of the MOBA back then. It was like way smoother. It just felt faster, like a faster pace, like just a more complete kind of game, But as soon as Dota 2 came out, I quit Han immediately and went to Dota, basically.
And when, at what point along the way did you decide you wanted to pursue this as something more than a hobby? What inspired you to kind of say to yourself, maybe I could make money playing this game. Maybe I could be a professional playing this game.
Okay, so there were 3 people that I found really inspiring. One was Flash and Jaedong from StarCraft. Like back then, I watched a couple of streams, and they were like always in those finals. I was like, wow, what if I could be there someday? It would be like super amazing. So obviously, it was just like a dream that a little kid would have, right?
Oh yeah.
And then as it progressed, wait, I said 3 people, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said Burning. No, not Burning. That comes later down the road.
Okay.
Jaedong, Flash, and Daigo, is Street Fighter player. So these 3 people inspired me a lot, just because I don't know, like watching them made me really happy, and I thought it would be really amazing if I could be there. But yeah, as I said, it was just like kind of like a dream. And then when did I go to LAN for the first time? Like when I was like 15 maybe. So I told my parents I'm flying here to compete in a video game, right? And they were like, okay. So they thought it was just a one-time thing, just for fun, right? So they were like, okay, you go. But then when I told them it's actually a bit more serious than that, they didn't really understand it, because at the time it was like, what is a video game tournament, right? Like nobody really knew. Yeah, and then it kind of just went like that, I guess.
And I mean, what was your first LAN a Dota 1 LAN?
Oh yeah, it was a Dota 1 LAN.
And how'd you do?
Top 4. Yeah, top 4.
Wow. So I mean, a little early success there.
Yeah, it was definitely hype.
And I mean did that hype just fueled it, right? From there, they just kind of sparked that interest in you to go that much further.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's like that kind of thing, You're like that young, and you like enjoy yourself so much with the people around you. It definitely sparked the interest even more, and then I put in more hard work. Basically, what happened after that, I slept less and I played more, so I could do school as well as like. Well, I guess you can't really call it professional career back then. More like a semi-professional, working towards a professional career kind of thing. But when you do that, as well as having to have good grades in school, it really cuts into your sleep if you want to do both seriously.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Were your parents? I guess how did they respond to that? I mean, were they I mean, obviously you said they thought, oh, okay, it's just a one-time thing. He's going to go play this video game tournament and he'll come back and he'll get right back to school. Were they aware that you were making that sacrifice of sleep to further build on this dream?
Okay, I'm not entirely sure whether they were aware of or not. I didn't really ever tell them,
Uh-huh.
It was more like okay, at first, So basically, I was on 4 hours of sleep for 3 years, like every night,
Oh.
right? And then, of course, at first when it happens, your body's kind of like, no power, nothing. You're like, you just look like a zombie kind of thing.
Oh yeah, sunken eyes, big bags
Right,
underneath them,
like that. Of course, when your body gets used to it, it gets a lot better after that. But at first they were like, "Are you okay? Are you sick?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm just a little distressed, And they're like, "Oh, school must be really tough on you recently." I'm like, "Yeah. School is hard, man." Of course, I didn't really want to tell them about it, right? And they never
Right.
took it seriously anyway until I actually left for China. Because even when I spoke to them about that deal, okay, I'm gonna do this, and then when I'm done, I'm gonna go and play. They were like, yeah, okay. But obviously they were not very serious, and they didn't think I was serious either, right? So when I actually said, okay, so I kept my part of the deal, right? So I'm leaving now, and they're like, wait, what? Right? And then it was a super funny situation back then.
Oh. I mean, have they? Obviously, you've gone on to do great things with that. So you've somewhat kind of at least proven that the work was worth it or the sacrifice was worth it. And I know they did a player profile of you at Kiev, and I know that your dad passed away from cancer. At what point in your career did that happen? Where were you at as a pro player when your dad passed?
Well, that was shortly before China. So when was it? Like half a year before I went to China. Yeah, half a year before I went to China.
So, I mean, obviously he didn't get to see what it kind of blossomed into.
Right.
But does it bug you? I mean, do you wish he'd been around to? I mean, obviously you wish he was still around, but I mean, do you? I guess I can't imagine what the emotions are kind of around that. For me, I feel like I would be wishing every day that he was there to see what I did, to see that I did it, that like I made good on that promise. I mean, does he factor into your thoughts a lot, throughout playing the game?
Definitely. I think up to date, he is still the biggest motivation I've gotten. So I basically whenever I start to feel a bit weaker or think about giving up or anything like that, then basically he just comes to mind and I draw my strength from that.
What does your mom think? Has she obviously you've played in a ton of major events. Has she come to see the events, to watch? Does she understand at all what's going on?
Okay, so at first she wasn't really supportive with it at all. Like same as my brother, they were both like, it doesn't really sound, because they never really tried to understand it, right? So they weren't really supportive at first. Just like recently, maybe the past 6 months, they've kind of been more accepting about it, but I don't think they really wanna support me with it, But it's more like I'm doing it anyway, whether they want to or not. So they might as well just accept it and support me, that kind of thing, But it's not like they really want me to do it. But I think that's mainly because they haven't really researched or anything like that. Although my brother messaged me 3 months ago, right? He was like, "Wow, I just Googled you, man. There's so many pictures of you. I didn't even know it was like that." I'm like, okay. That was very awkward,
Yeah. I mean, they surely they see you up there on the panels and doing that kind of work. I can't imagine. I can't imagine them looking at you doing that and not realizing maybe the depth of what the scene is, of what you've become a part of, and in some ways become a huge part of. And does it bug you that they don't get that, or does it hurt the relationship? I mean, does that make interacting with them tough?
I mean, it definitely hurts the relationship because, I mean, basically back then the choice was, right, well, before I left to China, so because as I said, they didn't think I was serious, and when they realized I was, they were like, all right, so you have two choices. It's either you go there and you don't come back, or you stay here and go to uni, like how we wanted it to happen, right? Well, obviously I chose the going to China thing. So ever since then, it was a bit like awkward,
Mhm.
because that was basically the time where we spoke about the where do you feel at home thing, right? That's basically the time where I kind of lost my home.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's gotten a lot better since then, but I think the biggest reason why they don't understand what I'm doing is because they didn't really try to like look into it. Like, even though I told them, I'm sure if you just like watch one event or watch some interviews or watch some highlights, whatever, you will understand why it's actually a lot better than you guys think it is. I don't know whether they did that yet or not, but as I said, recently they've become more accepting, so I guess it's going the right way.
Yeah, for sure. So, you head to China, and I mean that had to be. I'm sure that was culture shock in some ways. How did you overcome the communication issues initially upon arriving? Because I mean I only know from my pub matches, my scrub pub matches that have zero communication when we all speak the same language. Um, I can only, but I know from those matches that it's tough whenever so here on the U.S. servers occasionally we get Spanish speakers, and I'm not fluent in Spanish. I know a little bit, but even the little bit that I know makes it really difficult to communicate, and oftentimes means there's no communication. On a pro team, obviously, I feel like communication is going to be huge. That's going to be a huge part of how you guys work together. How did you overcome that initial lack of communication?
All right, that was honestly the most difficult time in China. Okay, before I went to China, I took online classes for 6 months, right, to get the basic speaking, basic listening ability, and basically when you arrive there, you can throw that all away because the accent is completely different. The words they say are the same that you learned, but they don't sound alike at all. So I basically had to learn a new Chinese as soon as I landed, right? I was like, yeah, nice, I'm ready. I get there, I'm not ready at all. Like I was, yeah, I didn't know anything. So
Ugh.
basically, the first 6 months, I had like an incredibly hard time adjusting to everything, which wasn't a problem because we were an international team, right? Like LGD in back then, so we
Mhm.
all spoke English. There wasn't a big problem. But after that, obviously they all went back to Europe after, and I was the only one who stayed behind in China. That was the period where I felt like super lost because I was like alone in this big team house. I didn't really have a team, right? I was just having this gut feeling. If I can make it work in the next 3 months, then it's gonna be nice, I guess. Okay, looking back at it, I think it was a super like unsafe decision. It's like so risky. It's like 99% failure, 1% success kind of thing.
Yeah.
And luckily it worked out, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, you definitely, mouse sports. You had a decent, showing with, and then when you were playing with Vici, I mean, obviously Vici did exceptionally well, at a number of different, tournaments, I League, ESL, Summit, or the second, or maybe Summit 2. Um, I mean, so obviously you were doing something right, and something kind of started to click for you guys, wouldn't you say?
I mean, yeah, for sure. But okay, so the 3 months, basically what happened. the LGD in team disbanded, right? And the 3 months there were very, very scary because I was basically just studying Chinese like 2-3 hours every day and then playing pub games to increase my level of play.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day, Burning fell sick, right? The old TK team, the All-Star team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then they asked me to play stand-in for Burning, right? Because obviously you meet a lot of these players in pub, like on a daily basis. And they were like, you want to play Burning is sick? And I was like, wow. So I kind of felt like that's my chance for a breakthrough, right?
Yeah.
And then we played. Obviously we lost, but I had like an incredibly good game. And everyone was like, oh, he can actually compete at that level. And then right after that, I've gotten offers from like a couple of Chinese teams. I mean, obviously not tier 1 teams, but more like tier 2.
Yeah.
And then Team CIS asked me to basically lead them because they had like 4 really, really talented individually skilled players, and they lacked like a leader with a lot of game experience. So they asked me to lead them, which at the time was also very, very difficult because I obviously not very fluent in Chinese at the time, right? So they're asking me to lead them. I was like, okay. I'll try my best. But then it actually worked out somehow, and we qualified to play at TI. So that was like a really big breakthrough for me in China because all these like big names, RTK, Burning, all those, they were like, "Oh, congratulations, well done." I'm like, yeah. I mean, and after TI, obviously at TI it didn't really work out. We lost in the wild cards, but then after TI, I got the chance to play in VG, and that was like basically the all-time high of my career.
Do you do you miss that, or do you miss being in any of the regions? I mean, was there a region where you obviously Vici started doing super well, and you were a big part of that. So clearly like things were kind of going well, at least from a Dota perspective there. I mean, do you miss any of these regions, or would you ever go back to any of those regions to start playing again?
I think I miss China the most because training there was very, like, it was very, very good training. Like you train with a goal, and like a lot of times it happens that you just practice, but you don't actually know what you're practicing or what you're practicing for. And in China, it was always a very clear goal. We want to practice this, and we want to have this mastered by X time. So I felt the training there was really structured and very, very easy to get along with, and very, very useful too, because you always knew what you were doing basically, which is not always the case outside of China. I think, at least from what I'm experiencing now and have been experiencing in the past.
So, speaking of communication, so I think it was back around like it was before TI3. I want to say when you were with Mouse Sports.
Yeah.
The first time, and you guys. So, recently all the VP players, Virtus Pro, out of Kiev. There's a lot of controversy kind of surrounding their team comms, at True Sight, or on that episode of True Sight. And you guys kind of went through something not quite as bad as what VP's kind of dealing with, but there was some backlash because of team comms that were broadcasted for you guys on Mouse Sports. Looking keeping that in mind, looking at like what's going on with Virtus Pro, do you feel like the backlash that they're getting is fair, or do you think that it's kind of regretful that maybe team comms were broadcast for them?
Okay, personally, I know like all of them, and they're really, really nice people, and I think they were portrayed in a pretty bad light. Like, it kind of looked like they wanted to do the good boy, bad boy thing, Like OG was like overly positive, and VP was like overly negative. I'm pretty sure they just like cut it that way because both teams, every team, there's always negative and positive because there's a lot of stress, a lot of like things that just happen in the spur of a moment, and you will get angry at your teammates. Your teammates will get angry at you, but you will also be very happy together. Like, all these emotions always come together, and I'm sure it was just like cut that way because, as I said, I know pretty much all of the players, like all 10 players in the grand final personally. And like VP, they're not bad guys for sure. So I guess it might be a bit regretful if people don't know them. They might actually think that they're just these like, because Russians in Dota in general have like a very like negative reputation, I would say.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure why, but yeah.
The internet. That's what I blame everything on, is the internet.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, of course, it's the internet. I actually don't know how it came to pass that like Russians are the bad guys, But in their particular case, if you don't know them, I guess it could kind of make them look bad, which is a bit like unfair to think about it like that. But I mean, what can you really say about it, right? Like,
yeah.
I think you had to agree to get recorded like that, and if they agree to it, then
Yeah. I mean, I completely get where you're coming from there. Did you, when you saw kind of that controversy, springing up, did you have flashbacks to the TI, the backlash that you guys were getting for your team comms?
I mean, yeah, it was very similar, right? Because the bad parts were recorded while the good parts were not, and so you all actually just look really like bad mannered, very, very, very ill-advised way of speaking, that kind of thing. And of course, it's like a bit annoying to think about, but the people that know you, they know you're not like that.
Yeah,
and they like
right.
the important people.
Well, and you would think with Dota players, especially with viewers of Dota matches and people watching this kind of stuff that are obviously playing pub matches, I mean, you hear worse in your own pubs,
It's way worse. Yeah.
Yeah, it's you know that this is happening in Dota, and for a team that's working together, day in and day out, and trying to develop this dynamic. I'm glad that you said what you did, because it does make sense. Like, yeah, you're gonna have good and bad moments in everything. That's how people are.
Yeah, it's just like emotions, right? Like suddenly you just feel that way, and you're like, ah. And
yeah,
then the other moment you're like, yeah, nice job, well done, well done.
Yeah.
It's not only in Dota, right? It's even in football. Like a good example is Oliver Kahn, the German goalkeeper. When his defense fucked up, right, he would just like scream at them, like sometimes even like hit them on the head a bit, like what the heck are you doing? Push. But when they do a good job, he would also be like, yeah, like cheer for them, I mean, I think it's very, very normal, like these kind of emotions, and especially in competition, everyone has it. Everyone has it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good moments, bad moments, it's always going to be there because you care so much, right?
Well, and it's competitive, and like you said, it's not just competition, but it's stressful, and it's the highest level of competition.
Yeah.
That there is. So
let's say you get to a major, right, or a TI, you're like amongst the 90 best players in the world. That is such a big feat, and obviously you want to reach the very top, right? You want to be like, yeah, I'm part of the 5 best in the world, and getting there is so incredibly difficult. It takes a toll on your nerves. Like you get so stressed. There's so many factors that come into play there, and of course some people, including me, sometimes say things that they shouldn't say. But it's like being stressed is not an excuse, but it's just sometimes you get overwhelmed with emotions and it just comes out the wrong way. And then usually later you just have like a heart-to-heart talk and you solve it. And it's pretty much how it works, I guess.
Yeah, and of course you're never going to see that, right? You're never going to see that heart to heart afterwards, where you dissect what went wrong, where you talk about team comms, and try to calculate what went wrong and why, and how to overcome it the next time around. And that's the bit that we'll never see, right? That's the
yeah.
that's the stuff.
I'm definitely sure VP had these kind of things too. They were just not included in the video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So recently you back in at the Manila Major, and then again at TI6, you started to do some analytical work, working on the panels. How have you liked that compared to playing?
Like, it was a very, very different experience, but it was mainly due to a hand injury, because at the time I had a problem with my hand for around half a year. so I couldn't compete at the time. And I've got the opportunity to do that kind of work, and it was very, very, very different. It's like you see it from the other side, you know. It's actually incredibly stressful. The days are very, very long. Like, especially during like the last series of the day, right? Let's say you start at 10 a.m. and the last series starts at like 10. It is incredibly difficult to still be focused on what you're doing. And
Yeah.
no,
A lot of caffeine.
right. Well, I don't drink energy drinks or coffee or that. So, but you know, I'm like an energy bundle, so I don't really mind. I'm like full of energy at all times. But you know how it works, right? There's these games, and then suddenly there's a Reddit thread. Person X said this. Oh, what an idiot! Do you realize he has been working for 12 hours already, and his brain is kind of like getting mushy? You know, I've had the same problem at the time, because you just have to stay focused the entire game. You have to watch the games. You have to analyze the games while you watch them. It's a lot of work, and you gotta cut them some slack. You know, it's very, very difficult. But of course, I think it helped me a lot. I think I improved quite a lot as a player too, because I saw it from the other side, and as a person too, of course. And well, obviously the fire inside of me was still burning brightly. So I tried to return as a player like ASAP after my hand got better, and then I started playing again after TI.
Yeah, that was kind of one of the questions I was going to ask. Is one thing I always ask, casters and analysts when we have them on the show is if doing casting or analyst work makes them a better Dota player. I mean, obviously you're one of the best Dota players in the world. So did you being an analyst and kind of being forced into that position to observe games, do you feel like that made you or helped you progress even as a Dota player, just being there as an analyst at those major events?
I think it helped me quite a bit, because I got to understand things from a very different perspective. So I tried to bring that perspective into my new team as well. And I think it made a lot of things a lot easier, because I had more knowledge than I had before.
Yeah,
definitely. So I would definitely think it helps quite a bit, because I also did coaching before that, and that also improved me quite a bit as a player, because it's just all this different experience that like forms one massive blob of skill,
Yeah, definitely. And seeing it from different perspectives and watching different players and play styles, I can imagine, it just influences you the next time that you sit down to play as well.
Yeah, it definitely does.
So while you were there, was there a part of you that was kind of looking longingly at the stage, wishing that you could just trade places with somebody?
Oh yeah, all the time, Okay, so at TI, I did the final game series, right? The Wings against wait, who was it? DC, yeah.
DC, yeah.
Yeah. And when Wings won, right, I was like, oh man, I want to be there right now. And then you hear like the production crew in your head, right? 10 seconds, guys, and saying that, I'm like, oh, crap, because I kind of got lost in thought, when I was watching them. Yeah, and then we had to do like the after show thing, but like all along you already like want to be there, you want to be competing as well, and yeah,
I can imagine. So you're playing with Team Faceless now, and how are you enjoying it?
I mean, okay, basically this the idea of this team was like based on friendship, like we have 5 friends, or rather 4, and then we got Jabs, who is now our good friend, and the whole idea was that we go through the entire year together as like the team is basically based on friendship. And yeah, okay, teams like this are very, very rough, when results don't come together. Like obviously at the start we were doing like amazingly well in the C region at least, but internationally we always kind of flopped. So when results start getting bad, right, you have to think, do you prioritize friendship over your success in your career? And these kind of decisions are very, very tough to make, because a lot of people may it be in Dota, may it be in real sports, any kind of competition. If you feel like your friends drag you down in that way, right? You have to make a decision whether you want to change players or not. So in the end, we always came to the conclusion that we're all like we trust each other enough to make it work again, you know. Like, whereas a lot of other teams would have made changes, I think we kind of just stuck together through everything. If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because there were definitely times where we thought we couldn't make it with the current composition, and yeah, I don't know. I just hope it works out, I guess, because a team like this is very rare, where that like stays together for an entire year.
Yeah, and you guys are going on a year. You're for like September of 2016, right? Was when the team formed.
Yeah, around there.
And I mean, you guys, and you have performed well. Let's see, you took second at like the ASUS SEA Cup, the first at the Pro Dota SEA tournament. And just recently fourth at the Manila Masters.
Yeah.
So I mean, you guys, it seems like you're headed in a positive direction. Don't you? I mean, do you guys feel that at all? Do you guys feel like maybe some momentum building?
Okay, so we've recently had like a position swap between three of our players, and before that we all felt very, very like lost, not confident at all. Okay, so like we've had a lot of good results, right? But mainly only in qualifiers, and then when we go to international tournaments, we usually fall flat on our faces and get last place without sometimes even winning a game, and that takes a toll on the team morale and the way you think about whether it can even work out or not, you know. But as I said, we swapped our roles, and ever since then we've become a lot more confident, I guess, because games go much smoother. It kind of just feels like a refreshing new start, you know. And the first time we did that was at the Manila Masters, where we finally managed to overcome one of our like big nemesis teams, OG. We managed to beat them for the first time on LAN, and that was like an amazing experience, even though we just freshly came out of our role swap. So I hope, okay, like this TI qualifier is gonna be very brutal. I just hope we can like make it out alive of the bloodbath.
Yeah, I mean, and defeating OG is no small feat. That's...
Oh yeah, they've been like, always how it goes. We win the first game, they proceed to completely destroy us in the next two. It always was like that. It's just like EG. Usually we do really well in the first game, and then they just completely dismantle us.
And it was quite the opposite in that Manila Masters series with OG for you guys.
Yeah, it was kind of like a milestone achieved, I guess, because they've been a very big thorn in our eyes, and yeah, that was like a very interesting experience.
So how are you liking the transition to mid? I when people say black to me, or when I talk about black, we talk about you with someone else, with another Dota fan. I think of anti-mage, right?
Yeah.
It's hard for me to not think about you playing anti-mage. It's when I picked up anti-mage as a just a casual pub player. It were there were your games that I was watching to try to learn what to do, to try to get a grasp on the game as anti-mage. So it's very strange for me to think about you playing the mid role and not the carry.
Yeah, it's very strange to me too, because basically I kind of felt like I was reaching back my old form, where I was like a very, very solid and stable carry player, like on a high level. And just as I thought I achieved that, right, it was, hey, you have to play mid now. And I'm like, oh, what? Dude, I just got back here. No, I can't. Oh yeah, okay, then in the end it still ended up that way. So I kind of felt like I lost my like perk, I guess, because I really felt like I was like there again, like ready to compete with the best on my role. And then now, okay, so I have around 10, 11 years where I played almost purely carry. Sometimes I played offlane, sometimes I played mid. but not all that much, maybe like 10% in total. So basically, I have to make up for 11 years of carry experience in like 6 weeks. Like that are the expectations that are put on me. I have 6 weeks to become a mid player of the same caliber as my carry, which is like
difficult,
damn
to say the
difficult.
least.
Yeah.
And who made that call? Was that Ice who decided to make that change up? Was that like maybe a suggestion from Winter?
I think we all kind of agreed on it from the start. Okay, I think who spoke about it? I think it was Ice and me, simply because you lose so much, things have to change, right? Because like you don't want to keep going lower and lower and lower. So that was basically just to have like a new start, see how things work, kind of like the last straw, I guess.
Just a shake up to maybe try to revitalize things a little bit.
Right. And luckily it worked out quite nicely in this case. Okay, usually though, 95% of the cases, it doesn't work out at all. And that's usually when you see like a player change or that kind of thing.
Do you is this the plan going forward? Are you kind of focusing now fully on the mid role then?
Well, I've been playing exclusively mid only, and of course I have like a severe lack of experience in a role. So basically I'm just trying to play like 11 or 12, maybe even more games a day just to get like into it, and then like watch a lot of replays of the prominent mid players to learn from them. And time is very, very limited. I just hope it's gonna be enough because it's very difficult.
What's the next big event that you guys have coming up that you're going to be competing in?
I think. Wait, I actually think there is none before the TI qualifiers right now. Yeah.
Well, we wish you the best in those upcoming qualifiers. I will be watching with bated breath.
that I will need. I will need all the best. I need like all the stars aligning for me. Like help me power up.
So all right. So before I let you go, I got two questions I want to ask you. One, where do you feel like the overall Dota scene is, or how would you diagnose the health of the overall Dota scene?
I think it has still been steadily growing, like in terms of tournament numbers. I think I'm not too sure about the player numbers. They have kind of like stagnated, right? Is that true, or is it growing or decreasing?
I've seen that the player numbers they've grown slightly, not as much as they used to, or they had like in previous years. The big thing I guess I remember reading was about Reddit seeing or at least our Dota 2 seeing a decline in the user base.
Oh, right. But like the overall Dota player base is kind of like the same, right? Like growing a little bit, like little by little.
Just real slight.
Yeah, okay. Just like looking at the competitive scene though, I think it's in a pretty good state. I had lots of tournaments for both amateur teams and teams that have been around for a long time, like season teams. And what do I think? Okay, what I think the scene lacks the most is professionalism from the pro players themselves. I think a lot of pro players don't take it very serious in interviews and that kind of stuff. So it might be a reason why some sponsors don't actually want to get into Dota, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's actually one of the biggest problems that we have in this scene, because a lot of people like they watch these Twitch streams, right? And then obviously, and those Twitch streams, those players just want to relax, have fun, and do like stupid stuff. But then their fans replicate that kind of attitude, and it kind of like spreads around. And then they kind of have the same behavior in interviews, which I don't think is correct, because I feel those kind of interviews, they should be somewhat professional, because in the end, sponsors are gonna watch them. They're not gonna watch like how you behave on Twitch, They're gonna watch those interviews and kind of think, which direction is this heading right now? And then if they like see a kind of like troll interview kind of thing, it might be a bit bad for the idea of the sponsor, you know. They're like,
Yeah, because,
do I really want to get into this if people are like that? Like how do I attract more sponsors if I work with someone like XXX? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Do I want to, do I want my company's logo being on the jersey of that guy?
Like do I want to invest money in that?
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting take. From our perspective, obviously we're a little bit different in that like we're trying to get the pro players to do interviews and chat with us and talk with us.
Right.
And I'll say that to an extent has kind of been our criticism of the scene as well. Like for instance, when we went to ESL One New York in 2015 or 16, I can't remember.
Yeah, 15.
But
I remember that one.
Yeah, where Broodmother was the was the hero of the tourney. But when we flew out there, we're a small podcast even still, but we were even smaller then. We'd invested a lot of money to get out there, and the plan was, all right, we're gonna hit the ground running as press, and we'll go in and we'll interview a bunch of players. And the first word that we got there upon arriving was, oh, the players won't be doing interviews.
Yeah.
And we were like, well,
like a lot of players have that problem. They actually don't want to do any advertisements, that kind of thing. You have. I just realized I'm saying that kind of thing a lot. I need to cut down on that. Okay, the players, I think they don't realize yet what it really means to be under big, like, sponsored name. Let's just take FC Bayern Munich. If they behave like we behave, they would get fired already. Like, they would be out of the team. It's like not acceptable. And I think if we can grow in that aspect, we have like a very rosy future ahead of us.
Yeah, definitely.
Because that's what I actually think is holding us like back the most. I like the scene as a whole.
Yeah, I completely agree. I for one am kind of a fan of the way that, at least I feel like Valve stepping in and doing the major system has been kind of a push towards more professionalism in the scene overall.
Yeah, I would agree.
And I feel like it's been replicated in most, I'd say most of the other big tournaments throughout the year. With a few exceptions that have like I like what Moonduck does with like elimination mode and that kind of stuff. Those are fun, goofy tournaments, and they're meant to be goofy. They're meant to not be the serious kind of a tournament. But for the most part, I feel like it has been going that professional route. But it's strange that there is it sounds like you're saying there is almost a pushback from the pro side of things, and for us, I always feel like I'm seeing a big pushback from the community on that, or at least a portion of the community, for some reason doesn't like the idea of Dota becoming overly professional. And my comment to them is always, hey, if the more professional Dota gets and the more money that gets sunk into Dota, the more longevity this scene has, the further it can go, and the more the more blacks we can have, the more the more PPDs we can have, the more upcoming talent we can foster. Just I don't know. I guess I'm with you. I don't get why there's a pushback against moving towards that professionalism.
Yeah, I like Dota can't survive without it, can it? Like, you have to be somewhat professional to attract. Like, whether we like it or not, money plays a very big part in everything, like in all these sports, all these esports. And if you don't want to be professional about it, then who would want to really invest money into it? Because in the end, it's entertainment.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Like, it's very hard to find like a middle ground, because, as I said, it's entertainment, but at the same time, for the sponsors, it's not entertainment, it's business. So you have to like find a good middle path.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is very difficult, because all these people that get into it usually have like very professional, like, people with them that they kind of teach them all these things. They're managers. They're like, who are these people called that take care of the
public
players?
Relations, PR?
Yeah, exactly. Like PR relations people. and esports is very rare. Some people, some teams have it, but it's very rare. And usually these kind of people, they're not even allowed to tweet themselves. It's usually like the PR people tweeting for them.
Yeah, right.
And like even these like Donald Trumps and whatever, they have people tweeting for them because they need to look very professional.
Well, maybe not him.
Yeah. Like what was it, Coffee FF or whatever?
Yeah,
that was.
Covfefe, I believe.
Yeah, Coffee. Yeah. You know what I mean, right? Like
Yeah.
they're actually not allowed to tweet themselves on their. Of course, they have like their own account, but on their like athlete account, they're not allowed to tweet themselves.
Right. They're because you need to stay on message.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah. So I got one last question I'm going to ask you before I let you go. I try to ask this of everybody that comes on the show. I know that there is a young Dota player out there listening to this right now who has those dreams like you had. He or she has watched you, your tournaments and gets the same feeling that you were getting watching Burning early on, and your StarCraft pros. They have a dream. They want to get there. What is the best piece of advice that you could give to an up-and-coming Dota player who wants to make a go at being a professional?
Okay. As I said before, I think having I don't really want to call it a backup plan. Let's just call it a secure position behind if things don't work out the way you want them to. That's why I think having like at least finish your high school is very important, I think, so you can get into university if need may be there.
Yeah.
The reason I say I don't like backup plans because I think if you want to make it, at least in Dota, I don't know about the other things, like the other sports. In Dota, you have to invest a lot of time, like a lot of time, 10 plus hours every day minimum. It's not even the maximum, it's a minimum. So if you really want to make it as a pro player, you can prepare yourself for a lot of stress, a lot of painful days, because you're gonna be lacking sleep, especially if you want to play during your early years, where you still have to go to school. As I said, I personally had to cut down on 4 hours of sleep to make it work, like to get good grades as well as improve in Dota. And it's gonna be very tough on you, and it's not for everybody. Well, unless you're Sumail, you just own everybody.
Yeah.
Like, what do you actually do about him?
Some weird natural talent. Yeah.
Like I have no idea how he's so good. But yeah, unless you're Sumail, prepare for a very hellish journey, because being a professional is very, very hard. Like a professional player is very, very difficult. And there are so many factors that you have to factor in. It's not only about talent and time, although those are two very, very big factors. It's about so many more things. Like, how accepting are you towards criticism? Because people will criticize you a lot. Whether it is because they're angry or they want to help you, doesn't really matter. You should always filter out the best information for yourself anyway. It's like, even in a pub game, somebody rages at you, just take it with a pinch of salt and filter the information out. Maybe he said something useful that you can use for the future, and I don't know, it's just like incredibly difficult to say.
Yeah, no, I understand.
and then, like, how do you get noticed, right? That's like one of the biggest problems people usually have. And I think nowadays, so back then when I got noticed, I played in-house leagues that aren't really around anymore. So now the best way to do that is really like matchmaking points. Everybody talks about them.
Yeah.
You should at least be able to reach 8K, I think. Which might sound a bit unfair, There's like people, professional players that have like barely 6K, but they're proven, so they don't care as much, or they don't need to care as much. Like, you need to make a name for yourself. Maybe even join amateur tournaments, stand out, have like a standout performance. You're gonna get your Reddit thread, like, oh, that guy's really good. Why is he not on the professional team? And you kind of need to get out there if you think you have what it takes. Maybe through, as I said, amateur tournaments or high matchmaking leaderboard rankings.
find a way to compete and find a way to make your name for yourself.
Right. Like, that's how Weehaw started, right? Like nobody really thought of him, and then in his team he just always played. They had outstanding performances, and bam, suddenly top 2 TI.
Yeah.
I mean, it can go really quickly. There's a lot of luck involved, a lot of hard work involved, a lot of pain involved. There's lots of emotions involved, especially during competition. Competitive sports or esports is very, very rough to be part in. And I think you don't really know whether it is for you or not unless you actually get the chance to compete. So I encourage everybody to at least try to get to a LAN and see how it is, because a lot of people actually just back down after a LAN because it is very, very tough mentally and physically as well.
Great advice. Advice I wish I could take you up on, but I am never going to be a pro player. So, but somebody out there, they're going to use that advice. Somebody.
Well, I hope to meet that somebody eventually. I think.
Yeah, they'll see you on the battlefield.
Hey, Black, I'm gonna own you, man. I took your advice and I'll use it against you. I'm like, yeah, come on, kiddo, show me what you got. That would be so fun. That would be very, very fun.
Yeah, I'd be remiss if I didn't share it. So my normal co-host Roland, who's not here, I was very excited to meet you.
Damn it, Roland, where are you?
He was at TI5, and you'd been playing a bit of sniper, and
he's sniper senpai.
Yeah, he's sniper battled you from a distance, and I think he told you something along the lines of I've started winning playing sniper because I watched you play sniper, and now I have taken those victories, and I'm winning now because of that. And I believe you told him that yes, you just looked at him very seriously and said, yes, you are my sniper disciple, and every victory you achieve makes me stronger.
Yeah, but I mean, I meant that too, because at the time I was a very evil sniper spammer. So every victory he achieved in my name made me that much more evil.
He thoroughly enjoyed that, and he tells that story quite a bit. So
good times,
all right.
Good times.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show, Black. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been a blast. If you guys want to find Black, follow him on Twitter at BlackDota2. You can find him on Twitch, twitch.tv/BlackDota TV. And look him up on Facebook. It's Dominik Black Reitmeier. I almost screwed it up.
Good recovery.
I told Grouty, who is your longest. He's your longest subscriber.
Yeah, I remember him, man. We've had good Twitter conversations.
Yes, he is. He's actually running our in-house league right now. He's one of the investors behind this podcast. And he told me to make sure that I brought up his name as well.
Thank you, Grouty, for making this happen. I appreciate it again. Thanks for your endless support.
He is a big Black fan, so
man, he's a beast.
Right. He's a good guy. He's a really good guy. All right. Well, thanks again for coming on the show. We look forward to following your career, and good luck at the upcoming TI qualifiers, sir.
Thank you very much. I'll need all of the luck, unfortunately.
I doubt it, but we're going to be looking forward to it. So, all right, guys. And until next time, this is Cyphus for Black saying good luck and Godspeed.
See ya, guys.